It's the Anfield Wrap's free show in association with Redsbet. To find out more about them, if betting is your bag, go to redsbet.com. I'm Gareth Roberts, and joining me today to look at the car crash that was Liverpool 2, West Brom 3 and matters surrounding, I've got Andy Heaton and Mike Nevin. Okay then, so to intro this one, that is, Mike, the most realistic chance of a trophy gone. Without us going on to win the Champions League, which of course remains a possibility, although most people will probably only say puncher's chance, but a puncher's chance is a puncher's chance. But nevertheless, if we don't win the Champions League, that will be 7 years without silverware at Liverpool Football Club, and that will be the club's longest drought for 45 years. There's been much debate, both pre-match and after-match, about how important the FA Cup is. Of course there has. That's what happens every single year. I think Andy summed it up quite well with the tweet he put out, in that, you know, you can have both. You can win the FA Cup and you can come top four. Everyone recognises consecutive seasons in top four would be good, would represent some sort of progress. Is it that exciting though? Is it a trip to Wembley? Is it cups being held aloft? Well, no, it isn't. And that defeat is the third time in 3 seasons that we've lost in the FA Cup fourth round. And in fact, in the FA Cup, the last time we went beyond the fourth round is 14-15, when we got to the semis, that awful day against Aston Villa. Sorry if I'm sounding a bit downbeat, but this is how I'm feeling. I know it's only 2 defeats and all the rest of it, and I get the people who are trying to put positivity over, but I'm struggling. I've got to be honest. But I mean, to go to the match, pre-match, you're in the pub, you get the text, or your app pops up, however you get your team news. You see the team news and you think, oh well, good.
Yeah,
he's going strong. It's pretty much the strongest team. Okay, he swaps the fullbacks, he swaps the goalkeeper, but other than that, everyone you want on the pitch is on the pitch pretty much.
Yeah, that was exactly my reaction. I just said fair play. Looks, to all intents and purposes, that Liverpool just want to win the tie, get through, get to the 5th round. Last 16, closer to Wembley, blah blah blah. So yeah, no qualms at all with the selection. Bit weird about the goalkeeping situation. I think you that continues to be a mess for me. I just don't know what kind of messages are being sent to either of the 2 lads who are being rotated in this way, and to Danny Ward as well. I just think it's absolutely crazy, and I said that months ago when the rotation thing came in for Champions League and League, which was deemed to be the most important. Can you separate the 2? I just think that's it's crackers. But just getting back to the selection in general was fine. And just coming away from the game, it's just rank disappointment. That's what it is. You're just gutted. And on Sunday, I was just catching up on the other scores, because obviously it was a late game of ours, and I'd been busy in the daytime, not had much chance to look at the scores. And I sort of lulled myself into this false sense of security where I thought, oh, Forest away would be a good one. And I thought, Christ, we're out. And it was like this dawn, and it was like, it hit me again. I was gutted on Saturday night, and then gutted again on Sunday. And then you can't watch the other games with any interest. It's absolutely devastating. And as you say, I mean, if you want to be realistic about things, I mean, let's hope we win the European Cup. What an achievement that would be. Yes, we've still got a chance if we start spending some money, which it doesn't look like we are. But we've passed up the best chance of a trophy. That was our. We're not going to win the league. The FA Cup was winnable, and it was a terrible performance ultimately. That means that we're out of that now. But aside from the 7 years without a drought, if we don't win the European Cup and we end up trophyless again, that's 3 seasons for Jurgen Klopp now. I know some people say he was only in charge for since I think it was the 8th of October or the 11th of October when he took over. But Liverpool reached 2 cup finals in that season, and okay, they didn't win them. I haven't really got any issue with that. You can lose cup finals. Everyone loses cup finals. Liverpool managers in the past have lost cup finals, but don't be telling me it's 2 seasons, because it isn't. It's 3 seasons, and if after 3 seasons you haven't won anything under a manager, under normal circumstances, people would begin to ask questions. And I think what compounds that now is the situation with this January window. There's news today that Sturridge might be going. There's no news of any incomings to compensate for the loss of Coutinho, to further compensate for the loss of Sturridge. And I honestly just don't know what's going on at the football club. And there's disappointment about a result is one thing, but worry about the way things are being managed at the moment, either at board level or in the dressing room. I'm just genuinely concerned as a Liverpool fan. as a passionate Red, I'm a bit worried.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's happened. It kind of feels that, it is only two bad defeats, albeit to two poor sides who've both struggled this season. But it is sort of bolted onto other worries. And this would be my point, really, about those who sort of still devalue the FA Cup and question its importance. Is I would say, well, you've potentially killed huge momentum here by going out of this competition, and by staying in it, you keep momentum. So we were talking about it before we started recording about the 2001 season, and Carragher talks about it in his book. A lad who was involved, a lad who played in that season, about how winning the cups, how winning the League Cup, how winning the FA Cup, it all rolled on. It all rolled on. Confidence kept going up. They thought that they could overcome anything. There was confidence there. There was team spirit. There was all the things that you want, all the things that breed success. And going out to competition at home at the fourth round stage in a winnable tie is not good for confidence, however you want to spin it. In terms of the actual game, and I mean, it was a fairly positive start, I thought. We said about the team lineup. They were getting shots off in and around the box early doors. I thought Sadio Mane was quite bright initially. And it kind of all looked right at first. You thought, this is what we expect, because you expected a reaction to Swansea. You expected a bit of urgency. You expected high tempo. We're gifted a goal because of the misunderstanding between Evans and Foster, and it's a fantastic finish by Firmino. But then it's then that it unravels. I mean, to concede that equaliser 68 seconds after going in front, criminal.
Yeah, as you said, there was an absolute gift. And my first thought, once we got that, was right, okay, this is going to be 3, 4 and 5, given the nature of the goal, how they conceded the goal. And my second thought was, after Pardew, you tit. Because I can't fucking stand it.
Who can?
Yeah, but you look, you're quite right. Winning breeds winning. And I think when you talk in those terms and around where, we've got to have this priority or that priority, you're almost letting the players off the hook a little bit on the focus side of things, like, the priority is the Champions League, etc., etc. And you are quite right. I always go back to the spark of 2001. I'm not even talking about the FA Cup. You look at the League Cup, we got knocked out by Leicester 2-0. Now, if you're looking for a catalyst to propel you to the business end, if you're going back, it wasn't the FA Cup. I know we won the FA Cup in the end, but beating that 2001 League Cup final, from there to the end of the season, you can see we're just on a trajectory like that.
The other thing as well, sorry for busting in, apologies for my voice, I'm still suffering, about 6 weeks on from the Aussie flu, but the thing about that team in 2001, never mind the confidence that gave them as they progressed through that season, most of them were in Istanbul when Liverpool came back from 3 down and showed incredible fighting spirit. They'd been there before. They'd won that UEFA Cup, playing teams like Barcelona and Porto, good sides, and Roma, of course, as well. So the spirit and the winning mentality that came from getting to the UEFA Cup final and winning the League Cup. The League Cup led to the FA Cup. The FA Cup led to the UEFA Cup, and the UEFA Cup ultimately we won that, and then we had to go. And what did we do on the Saturday? We qualified for the Champions League, and we qualified in 3rd place, by the way. So of course it can be done. What about 2006, which was our last major trophy, if you don't count the League Cup? What did we do that season? We qualified for the Champions League. Throughout Benitez's tenure...
The FA Cup win as well, coming from behind against West Ham as well.
Yeah.
Because they'd been there before.
Well, exactly. And the fact that it was 3-3 and we won on penalties, it's no coincidence that. Because the players know at 2-0 down, this isn't over. This isn't over because they've got that... It's like muscle memory in the brain, basically.
But I mean, as I've said there, though, the team selection doesn't hint at any complacency there. And Klopp was asked about complacency in terms of, well, the big picture, if you like. But he's not showing complacency by putting that team out there. That was a team that said to me he wanted to win that tie. It wasn't.
So did they, by the way. If you look at their lineup, they went strong as well.
Yeah,
they were in it
and they were positive in terms of how they played, and they were much. And Pardew did talk about wanting them to be able to play with freedom, which quite clearly that isn't what they did when they came here in the league.
No, they played with freedom and aggression as well. That was the other thing. I thought they were bang up for it. They were snapping it to every tackle.
Oh, well, that was the disappointment, isn't it? Because the 2 goals that we so quickly concede, but on both of them, they're more aggressive. They seem to just want it more. Emre Can twice it looks too sort of lightweight and is too easily bypassed in midfield. Moreno seems quite late to the party, getting over a couple of times there as well.
Van Dijk for the I think it's the second one. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's just standing still. He's got his hand on the fella's shirt. The ball comes across him. He's completely flat-footed. I've got no idea what he's doing. And Matip's involvement in the third goal. I mean, he tries to back heel it on his own line.
I don't know what he's doing.
Misses it. And it ends up in the back of the net. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy defending.
But this comes back to, and I know it was mentioned briefly there, the lack of cohesion in the back foot. Yes, it was a strong side. It was, I granted that. But the lack of cohesion, and don't do that. I'm doing the talking with the hand thing on Mike's thing. Great for podcasting. Cheers, Mike.
I'm just dropping you a hint about the goalie.
Yeah, right. So the lack of cohesion at the back, but it's unnecessary. He starts strong. It's a good lineup individually. But surely, off the back of deciding that Loris Karius is your number one and you're finally going to jettison Simon Ming, I wrote something on the site from last night.
Yeah, it was very good.
About the very same thing. Surely, you want to get some understanding across that back four and the goalkeeper. Because they look at sixes and sevens. And I keep hearing this line about, as a unit, we're actually all right. It's individual mistakes that are costing us, etc., etc.
They weren't a unit there.
No, I don't think we are. I'm only repeating what the manager said time and time again in press conferences. I think defensively we're a shambles individually and collectively.
Yeah.
So surely, given the opportunity, you got your new centre half in Virgil van Dijk's there. You'd try and get a little bit of continuity in there to breed some kind of confidence and understanding between the lot of them.
Yeah,
and yet again, he's decided to throw the baby out the bathwater and ends up playing the fella who we dropped for the other fella the week before.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, Dan Morgan raised a good point on one of the shows recently where he was trying to justify or come to a conclusion why he'd gone for Karius. And he said it was because he might have been waiting for Van Dijk so that they could, effectively just start from scratch and say, right, we need to develop a partnership. Well, and I thought that was a good point. And as much as I think Karius is crap, I can see reasoning behind that because, as people keep on saying, we've seen less of him than we have of Mignolet. I've seen enough of them, to be perfectly honest. But nonetheless, there was some validity in that argument. So why then, after 2 games, switch the keeper again? So what kind of understanding is being built up there? An understanding with Mignolet who isn't going to play in the other games? It just doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that, this season in general, I mean, we've got to be careful not to go too mad, if you like. I mean, we have had the unbeaten run. We are still well placed in the league. We are still in the last 16 of the Champions League. All of those things are good things. But I just wonder, you look at the lineup changes. There's a stat this morning on the BBC, and after 24 games last season, the lineup had been changed 36 times. This season, it's 93, and I just think, while I understand the concept of rotation, obviously, and keeping legs and minds fresh, I think what you're both saying to me here is that some of it feels unnecessary. So you look at Saturday and you say, okay, he changed both the full-backs, and you can sort of understand that. They both played a fair bit of football, particularly Robertson. He's had that long run, and so Moreno coming in didn't seem like the maddest shout. But the keeper thing, that's just adding to that stat that I've just read out, and it doesn't seem necessary, especially when you've come out and basically said, he is now our number one. He's the number one. So just leave him in there because, Mignolet doesn't have a good game again. It's down on the agenda to talk about, but I don't want to, I don't want the chat to be dominated by keepers again. But he doesn't emerge with any credit from that, and in fact he's probably saved by the officials a couple of times from being even more red-faced. I mean, quite why, on the goal that is disallowed, just because Gareth Barry's sticking his arse in and giving him a bit of push. I don't really understand why he can't basically push him over or highlight it to the referee before the ball's even, give him a good two-handed push, and when the ref goes, what's going on here? He's all over me here. He's all over me. But there's like he's too nice.
But it was that wasn't the only time in the game. There was the other goal that was disallowed for offside, which was clearly offside. But the goalkeeper didn't know it. The goalkeeper didn't know that. And you've got a fella who's 6'3", can use his arms. And, I mean, watch it back. He's actually crouching. Before he jumps, he's But yeah, I've got a little bit of sympathy with Simon Mignolet on this because I don't think the manager's been fair. Having been dropped, I don't think it's then fair on him to stick him back in.
No.
Because I'm not having it that Simon Mignolet isn't intelligent enough to know that everyone in that crowd thinks he's crap. I mean, none of them are good enough. But the reality is now, he said to the other fella, "You're my number one," and I've got a little bit of sympathy with that, in so much as that Loris Karius is 24. So you've got to choose between a fella who we know isn't good enough and definitely isn't good enough and definitely won't improve, against another fella who definitely isn't good enough, but there's a small chance could improve.
Yeah.
So, but going back to the performance, if you could sum up, he didn't make any glaring mistakes that cost us, because the first one got chalked off for offside, and the second one didn't get given any. Even for the goals, he just looked so lethargic. You know, there's no move.
He's probably
He
had his
doesn't
confidence
look.
knocked again, hasn't he?
He do-
By the situation.
But
And
who's caused that situation, Mike?
well, it's the manager, isn't it? And as I said at the start as well, if you're Danny Ward and you see these two being swapped around, and then he's saying Karius is me number one, Mignolet's me number two, as evidenced by the fact that he plays on Saturday night. What does that say to Danny Ward? It's
Maybe he's no good though. Do you know what I mean?
No, and I've said for a while that I think it's a complete red herring, that the suggestions that Ward should be in the team. If he was any good, he'd be playing now.
Well, to be fair, Mark,
But I've got to say, I think Klopp has got an obvious blind spot on goalkeepers, and whilst we're waiting for this, I can't wait for the transfer window to shut. To be quite honest, but never mind replacing Coutinho, never mind replacing Sturridge if he goes as well. Why can't we be in for a goalkeeper now? And people say, well, they're not the ones that he wants aren't available. Well, there are goalkeepers out there who are available that you can get if you want. I think Joe Hart wants to go from West Ham. He's better. He's better than Karius, and he's better than Mignolet. Yes, why are we not doing anything about this?
There's two things here. Danny Ward. Okay, so Liverpool's academy director of goalkeeping is a fellow called Mark Morris. Mark Morris is also in the Welsh setup. No one knows more about Danny Ward than Mark Morris.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Danny Ward isn't any good, but what I'm saying is, if someone was ever going to be an advocate for him, it's someone who's coached him all through his career so far.
Sure.
Also, bear in mind, who's the Wales number one at the minute? It's Wayne Hennessy, and he's absolutely dog shit as well. So anyone who's saying, "Oh, well, stick Danny Ward in," you simply can't know that. He might be, but you simply can't know that. On the other side of it, and I made the comment last night, and I'm not saying Ben Foster's anything more than average, but he looked more secure last night than anything we've had for the past five seasons.
I thought Foster had a great game. He made loads of saves.
But it weren't just that; it was coming, and they weren't the best cross in the world, but it was coming for them.
Yeah,
How
he was
many
authoritative,
times
wasn't he?
have we seen balls from the opposition just floated in, and it caused panic because no one is going, "That's my ball. I'm going to take that," and it looks easy. It looks easy, but because we've got the fella played last night, who's
He fucks up on the first goal though.
Yeah,
he can just come out and boom that, and then there's no goal.
Well, there's miscommunication between the two. But I'm talking about just communicating with your back four and not being absolutely pinned to your line. So, and I'm not advocating signing Ben Foster, but if he's just average,
well, I think to be fair, I'm broadly
without
speaking,
turning
I
into a
agree
big
with you.
goalkeeper debate.
In terms of Foster, yeah, I agree. I don't think he's the best keeper in the league by any stretch. He's probably, I don't know, maybe 10th best in the Prem for me. But if he was auditioning for a role as Liverpool goalkeeper ahead of either of the other two that we've got, then he passed his audition for me. And you're right to say he was slow to come out for the first goal. Then that results in a scoring. But he made a lot of saves towards the end of the game, and they were key saves.
He's just knocking around at West Brom, though, isn't he? I mean, he had to go at Man United and get anywhere. And
I'm not saying we should sign him. I'm just saying. I just wonder
though when we hold up goalkeepers against one another, and I'm not defending the ones we've got, but I just a little bit of a counterpoint to say there's more pressure playing for Liverpool, though. I think there's a bigger pressure, bigger scrutiny. There's a piece today which I don't necessarily agree with, but Mark Schwartz has wrote something in the Mail today, defending Mignolet and defending keepers in general, just saying he feels that too many times pundits are like, they should have done this and they should have done that.
I actually agree with that.
And it's not realistic. Like he said, he was going on about you see criticism of what hand goalies are going with sometimes and things like that. And he said, and if you've actually been coached as a goalie, which loads of the pundits haven't, then they're going with the right hand. Do you know what I mean? They're going with the hand that they're told to go to, that sort of thing.
I've said this for a while actually, that you can tell that there's this thing where goalkeepers are underappreciated in the game now, just from the commentary. And everything, really good saves or good saves that are described as smart saves
or routine
saves. And back in my day, back in the 80s, on Kickoff, which is the local Granada TV thing, every season they had save of the month and save of the season. No one has that anymore. And you know what? There's saves that people now would describe as smart saves that would win Save of the Month. They're not smart saves. They're bloody good goalkeeping.
The opposite also happens where camera saves are then applauded. Oh, what a great save. You look in routine. David De Gea is the master of making really brilliant saves look so simple.
Yeah,
come off his foot, his knee, his chest.
Sure, and it's also about positioning, Andy, as well.
Yeah, but that is not bad luck.
No,
that's by design.
Of course it
is.
But
when you talk about the reportage around it, it's a different point, but we'll talk about it. Michael Owen's a terrible commentator, but you know what he's brilliant about? Talking about strikers.
Yeah.
So when we're talking around the commentaries around the game, why isn't there a goalkeeper? You know, if you're talking about goalkeeper, if the conversation's going to be dominated, or at least be, you're going to dedicate 10 minutes talking about.
Get an expert in.
Get someone who knows what they're talking about.
No, totally.
Sorry.
All right, well let's jib goalkeeper chat then, and bring it back around to the match itself. So I kind of feel like we were around the point of talking about the 2 goals that Liverpool conceding in quick concession. Not particularly great in general, but I just wanted to talk to you about the way Liverpool play from there on in. Really, in that it seemed to me in the ground and watching it that quite quickly confidence evaporated. Quite quickly the mentality didn't look great, and all of a sudden, you were watching Liverpool's play and just wondering why it couldn't be a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper, why things couldn't go earlier. And I just wondered what your thoughts were on maybe why confidence looked to have sapped from them so quickly after the rightly lauded for going on that long unbeaten run. From post Spurs until Swansea City. But why in this game do we see a really, like I say, a positive start? You saw Mane, Bright and all that sort of stuff, and yet you concede 2, and you could see them berating each other. You could see, as I say, a lot of safe football, I thought. Instead of going early, instead of trying to hit players early, there was a lot of just come back inside, go back. The midfield in general, Chan, Van Aldum and Oxlade-Chamberlain, don't do enough. None of them for me. In terms of driving Liverpool forward.
And you compare it was the same 3 against Manchester City, and they were all outstanding in that game. I mean, how can you put your finger on that? I think you've got to put it down to complacency. Unfortunately, I actually got a programme before the game on Saturday night for the first time in ages. I was just flicking through, and it's all about the FA Cup. The whole programme is devoted to Liverpool's history in the FA Cup. Klopp's 2-page column is talking about the importance of the FA Cup. Henderson's captain's column is 2 pages. Now, Henderson doesn't play. When he comes on, there's a bit of urgency. Liverpool start spraying it about and upping the tempo and looked a hell of a lot better and try and nearly get back into the game right at the end. But the 11 that go out there to shrivel and die after conceding 2 goals like that was just unacceptable. And one of the things that Klopp's lauded for is this team spirit that he's trying to engender. Part of the reason that he was willing to let Coutinho go is he doesn't want disruptive dressing room influences. Well, I don't see any team spirit in that side last night, and I didn't see much of it on Monday either. It was too accepting. As I say, West Brom just into every tackle, really, really aggressive. Look, more up for it than we did, and I'm a great believer in team spirit, and but ultimately, team spirit is built by winning trophies and winning important football matches. And we've sort of no excuse because you quite rightly referenced the 18-match unbeaten run. Okay, there was a few draws in there, but it's still a bloody great run. Now, and to me, and I know it's a bloody hobby horse of mine, I've been going on about it since Coutinho left, but that sale has ripped the heart out of the club, and the sale on its own was, as I say, whether you can avoid it or not is open to debate. I'm prepared to accept that, he was so desperate that maybe it is better that he went. But to not, I think the fact that we're not addressing it has got to have something to do with all of a sudden that we've lost 2 games, and we've lost 2 games that have put us in a fight for 4th, out the FA Cup against poor opposition. And you can go on all you like about not liking Pardew. He's had our pants down twice at Anfield in the last 6 weeks.
That's why I don't like him.
Yeah, but there you go. I didn't like Brian. I didn't like Brian Clough, Andy.
Just going back to the game specifically, though, and it raised a question that it's something really interesting what Robbo's just said there about we seem to play a little bit safe and within ourselves. Is there a point where we accept that we're actually at our most vulnerable when we're trying to play safe, when we're trying to cover up and play within ourselves and not overexpose? Almost like the boxer who's great on the front foot, but he's useless going backwards. you know, if we're not on the attack, what are we? Does that make sense? Because it seemed
Well, it does make sense, because when we're at our best, it's against teams that want to come and play. Now, to be fair to West Brom, they did have a go the other
but
night.
even look at Man City the other week when
Yeah.
we're on the front foot, we're
Yeah.
4-1. There was no sniff of them coming.
Better when it's almost like it's better when it's instinctive, when it's just
Absolutely.
it's just come on, get out there. It's driven by that sort of, rather than when they're thinking about it more. Right, okay, they're sitting in now. They've got the lead. They're 2-1 up. They've dropped deeper now. They're not pressing as high. They're not coming at us as much. It's up to us now to dictate it.
Well, this is a mentality thing. This is a mentality thing in the team. If they're not capable of getting of upping the tempo, because let's face it, the other manager's job is to take the tempo out of Liverpool matches, because that's where Liverpool play well. When there's a high tempo and a big atmosphere and all that goes around that, but the speed of the game, the type an opposition that's going to come at you, Liverpool are great. We saw that as recently as Manchester City. We saw it against Arsenal earlier in the season when we won 4-0. We've seen it umpteen times. We saw it loads of times last season when we had a great record against teams at the top who'll come and have a go at you. Now, but for me, like, it's that mentality. You create that mentality in the dressing room, and without necessarily having a go at Jurgen Klopp, it's his job to create that mentality. It's no one else's.
The
players have got to buy into it, but ultimately, the mentality in the dressing room is the manager's job. It's not my job.
But hang on, though, as well, isn't there an aspect here where you've got to talk about the mentality on the pitch? So we talked about before about how ridiculous it is to concede 68 seconds after going in front. Then you've also got the problem that Liverpool don't really create a huge head of steam around getting back into the match at any point, really. You know, even when the Salah goal goes in, you know, I thought the crowd really had a go at trying to lift them, at trying to encourage them. And there was a bit of a go, but there was too many hopeful balls. I don't know, and it never really felt like you fully got that head of steam. Now, that's driven to me by the people on the pitch, and I just wonder whether I mentioned being too nice before, and there was another incident which I thought was too nice, which is where Matip puts the ball out of play when the lad's down. The referee can blow up if he wants the lad to be seen to. Yeah. It's not up to you to just put it out and be giving them it back and all that. Fuck that. Get on the front foot, score a goal, we're behind. And you know, even at the end as well, like they're down, they're essentially down to 9. There's two fellas hobbling round. And like we don't go all out. We don't throw everyone up front. You see Van Dijk get that header late on, and you sort of think, well, why didn't you get up there before that? Yeah. Because they're not doing anything. They're just holding on.
I've got two thoughts, and you talk about mentality on pitch mentality. I'll deal with Matip first. Matip's just too laid back. He's too laid back. To me, I think he's lazy as well. I think he switches off all the time. I've been saying this for a while. Paul Senior, who comes on the show, holds the same opinion. Against City, he was superb. Yeah, he stepped in front, he stepped out, he won the ball, he seemed switched on. But I think his concentration levels are shocking. And that again, that's on pitch mentality. Okay. Yeah. And the other thing to make is that you talk about the midfield, and how many times have you seen Gini Wijnaldum have brilliant games against top class opposition at Anfield? I'm thinking back to his goal against Arsenal. Regularly. He always plays well at Anfield against good sides, but the rest of the time he's nowhere to be seen. He's never scored an away goal for Newcastle or Liverpool. That says something. Has to say something about mentality when maybe he just doesn't fancy it. And then the final point on this is in the middle of your midfield there, you've got Emre Can. Now Emre Can is going to be up for a game against Manchester City because he's hugely in the shop window. He's not so much against West Brom on a Saturday night. He's leaving at the end of the season, so
he's captain.
He's captain. I know, and that the captaincy and the rotation of the captaincy.
Is he going to go and get his leg broken?
Is a whole of course he doesn't. So he's not going to be as attuned to the game and as attuned to our desires to win an FA Cup as other players. He's thinking about it next season, and he's thinking about his move, and he's thinking about his future, a future that lies away from Liverpool. And if people thought that Coutinho would have down tools, right? Well, there for me is a fella that on Saturday night down tools, letting people waltz past him completely and utterly off the pace of the game, and that's what you get. The lad's leaving. We know that.
Is there a thing in the side about? And we were talking about the mentality again, but we feel sorry for ourselves too quickly. So the minute that penalty hit the bar and didn't go in, my immediate first thought was Sevilla all over again.
Yeah.
Severe all over again.
Yeah.
We're going to feel sorry. We're not a team that will dust ourselves down if something bad happens. We just get on with it. It'll be like, oh, well, you know. And Robbo was quite right. Why are we the last 30 seconds of the game before we see Van Dijk pushed in? As I said, with the normally down to 9 men. And even the goal we scored, I mean, it's a good finish, but it wasn't particularly brilliant football. It's just the ball's been fizzed in low, come back. And we've put it in. And we have got that within us where if something even going back to the UEFA Cup final, we have one knock in the first minute of the second half. And when we fall off a cliff, Severe again, away with 3-0 up.
Severe at home and away this season.
Home and away this season.
Yeah.
And even going back again, I mentioned it again, the City thing, the last 5 minutes of that was a nightmare. I know it was a fantastic result. Yeah. And it just seems that we have this panic mode.
Totally.
Where no one in that team, and I think you're right about Champ, no one in that team. There's no Steven Gerrard there or Carragher there.
But lots of heads seem to go as well, don't they?
But there's no one there. There's no Carragher or Gerrard going to the rest of them and grabbing them by the scruff of the neck and going, come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine, you take that game back 4 or 5 years. What's Gerrard doing in the last 5 minutes of that game?
He'd just drive it himself, wouldn't he? That's what he did so much.
But he's dragging everyone with him.
Yeah, and I mean, Andy's absolutely spot on. And, you know, if people listening to this are saying what you said before about the on-pitch mentality not being good enough, well, do you know what the manager's job is? If he can't address the on-pitch mentality with the lads that he's got, he needs to buy players who've got a better on-pitch mentality.
And you know, people will say that's what he's done with Van Dijk. You know, he looks like someone who's communicating, who's talking. Well, yeah, I think you can see that he is like that. I mean, he looked like he ended up in the general malaise a little bit on Saturday. But I think you've seen already that he looks like someone who talks, who shouts, who can organise potentially. Keita hopefully is going to be someone like that as well. I agree with you that they should be doing more, by the way. But yeah, I mean, you know, perhaps there is just in general, you know, too many times where he's put too much faith in too many players, basically. Because, you know, while Liverpool have done well and they get in the top 4 last season, they get in the Champions League, we're hoping that they do the same again. There's still like a latent loser mentality around quite a few of the players that he's still leaning on. And so when you see a Lovren, when you see a Moreno, when you see a Mignolet making problems for themselves, it's not the first time. It's very much not the first time. So yeah, you're right. You probably need to be thinking about upgrades, but I guess you can't do it all at once. I mean, it's almost another show, isn't it? The transfer policy and when they decide to buy and when they don't. So far, you know, Klopp stroke the people who are with him. I think it's worth saying that as well, by the way. Everyone always talks about Klopp or FSG, not both. But they also, you know, you forget about this fella who's there again, Edwards. Yeah. You know, and his team. I mean, you know, not so long ago, they were bigging themselves up, and Klopp was doing it as well, saying, "Oh, the boys, you know, they persuaded me that we should pay that money for Salah. They told me." So it's not just the manager who's saying right now, "I'm happy for it to go to Wednesday and we don't get anyone else in."
It's a
team, it's a club, and no one seems to be going, "Hang on, actually, maybe we'd benefit from a big buy here. Maybe we should go all out and go and get him, or maybe we should go and get a keeper." And they seem to have arrived as a collective as a no. It's a no.
Is there a Gary McAllister out there? Do you know what I mean? Like a short term. Is there? And I get stick for saying Ronnie Rosenthal. You know, an unusual on the face of it short term buy. A loan that won Liverpool its last league title.
But the manager is involved in that decision. He's part of it. It's not black, white, FSG, Edwards or Klopp. No. It's a collective thing. I'm not having it. Hang on, Mike. I'm not having it that the manager, if the manager really pushed to get someone, they wouldn't go and get him. And I just thought the other night, and it's this thing about elite managers, and I think sometimes they kid themselves that they're too clever. They're cleverer than what they are, or they can get something out of a player that maybe other managers couldn't.
This is
so
Klopp's
they persevere. So they basically persevere a little too much when the actual solution is much simpler. Now, a part of me admires that someone's got that much self-belief and self-confidence, but how big does a body of evidence have to be before you can go, well, actually, no, we need to do that? Because seasons are won and lost. Seasons are won and lost in periods like this.
Absolutely.
And it's all very well for the club to say or put out the message, oh, it's a slow build. I've been hearing that message all my life, most of my adult life now.
How many times?
Hang on, but get into the economics of it. Are we supposed to write off £3,000 or £4,000 a year or however much if you take in your travel costs and whatever over the course of a season, just because we're building when the solution could be right there in front of you.
I mean, that's it from the view of the match-going supporter, and obviously not everyone that listens to this pays £3,000 to watch Liverpool home and away. Not everyone pays, towards a.
I said that as like a total amount
as a thousand. All right then, season ticket holder, cop season ticket holder, about £800. It's an investment in that season, isn't it? Come the end of the season, you have the chance to decide, well, do I want to go again or not? But you're paying up front for that.
Your away games on top.
Your away game. I mean, I think most people who go home and away, before you consider, a pint or whatever, it's about £3,000. Your tickets, your travel, to home and away. Going away costs double because you've got transport and stuff. But getting back to the point, I can't remember. What were you saying there?
But the manager being too clever, backing himself maybe a little bit when.
Yeah, and when you said it's Robbo said it's a team, and he's right to say it's a team, and you're right to say the Klopp is integral to that team. And let's remember what he said on his first day at Liverpool. He has the first say and he has the last say. So ultimately, the buck stops with the manager. That's not just with Jurgen Klopp. That's with the manager of every single football club. If you're not successful, or you have a transfer policy that appears to be flawed, that's down to the manager. Rodgers used to get it off the back of the transfer committee. There were players being bought, but the general acceptance that some were bought by Rodgers and some weren't, and you couldn't quite work out which ones at times. But nonetheless, people criticised him for his buys in general, and that included the ones that were committee buys and the ones that were deemed to be Rodgers buys. It's just a fact. It's just a fact that the transfers ultimately, regardless of the recruitment policy and who's involved in it, including the manager has to carry the can for it.
I think, we talked a little bit about mentality. I want to come on to transfers a little bit at the end, because we are only a couple of days away from the window closing. But just on the mentality and the sort of the way things seem to collapse very quickly from a good start into a bit of a slog, really. To me, what was concerning was the amount of poor performances. So we, mentioned the midfield earlier, and the triple substitution says everything that it needs to say. That's a manager who isn't happy when they do that. When they take 3 off in one go, that says to me, that's a message to them like yous have all been awful here, boys. Milner's on for Channing's on for Mane, and Henderson on for Chamberlain. But at the back as well, but both full-backs struggle, and I know it isn't. I know Trent's a young lad, but I thought he had a nightmare, really. He miscontrols one under no pressure. He balloons across into the cop. Bad day all round, and it felt like he was being a little bit targeted at times by West Brom as well. We've mentioned the keeper already, so here's the vast majority of a team here that hasn't played well. And that, to me, is a real worry. Long unbeaten run or not. Because now what we've got to talk about is what they do to bounce back. Klopp talked about bouncing back in this game, and he didn't. And so now he's looking at sort of.
I think there was a few of them. A few of them went into the press and say, "We can put the previous game right. You can't. And you can never do that because those points have gone."
But
it's one of the things that
they have been pretty good at bouncing back under Klopp. I wrote something last week saying like the longest string of defeats under Klopp has only been 3. But he's on the verge of matching this year, and for all the good that's been done in January, and all everyone, he's getting a lot of praise for the rotation, and we've achieved some good results in January, not least the City game. But we've got now this Huddersfield's become absolute must win, hasn't it?
Yeah, and bear in mind that most of the team that you'd probably want to select for Huddersfield has got 90 minutes of slog in those legs. Yeah. So in terms of the rotation, but ultimately there's not much to rotate because we're light on attacking options.
Well, people are talking about Woodburn again now, aren't they? Because he's played well for the under-23s. He hasn't had a minute in the first.
No, I like Ben Woodburn. I think he could be a great player. He could be Phil Coutinho because he's got all the same gifts. Drops a shoulder, finds little pockets of space. He's got vision. He can score goals. He's clever. He's 18 years of age, and he scored his first goal for Liverpool when he was 16. We've barely seen him since. So if we are now turning to Ben Woodburn, we're saying to Ben Woodburn rather, we're turning to him to say, all right, lads, you get stripped, and he's thinking, Christ, I haven't played for 6 months.
Yeah.
And that in itself doesn't smack of any real planning, because if we knew Coutinho was going and we were going to begin to rely on Ben Woodburn, then he should have been getting minutes. And in Klopp's rotation policy, which he's done really well with, in getting those 18-match unbeaten run, there was ample opportunity for Woodburn to be having 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, a start here, a start there. I mean, the derby, for example, Solanke's played in that one. He played at Stoke, I think. He played at Burnley. Now, Solanke hasn't scored a goal for Liverpool. Why has Ben Woodburn not been afforded a similar level of opportunity? 3 starts, 5 appearances off the bench. We haven't seen him.
Yeah, I mean, that the substitution I mentioned, I think it's worth mentioning that there's a little bit of impetus from around them. I thought Danny Ings was quite lively. You mentioned Henderson earlier on. I mean, Henderson, there's this continual debate, and Neil had his rant about it on one of the other podcasts, and I agreed with him, where I don't know why there is the continual debate of sort of Henderson v Chan. I'm not bothered about either individual. I just want Liverpool to win football matches. And to me, from what I saw just Saturday alone, when Henderson's on the pitch, and we get all this crap levelled at us about being Henderson fanboys, and it's really boring, and just pack it in, boys, because what's the point? But when he come on, it just through doing things quite simply and like, look, playing forward passes, there was a little bit of momentum off the back of that. Did you think, And?
Yeah, I thought all 3 substitutes impacted the game positively. Not positively enough, but yeah, I think in that little that spell when they all come on, we looked as dangerous, or if not more dangerous, than we did through the entire game. I agree with what you said. Things looked bright, even if his touch wasn't quite. He looked like he didn't have much minutes, especially with that one bounced off his ass.
Yeah, got a couple of efforts in though, didn't he?
Yeah, no, he
little
did.
Pen shout and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, I'm fine with him. I like him as a player. Henderson, a little bit of zip in there. It's a difficult one because, as you said, I'm almost bored myself with the whole Chan Henderson debate because it's a nonsense, and it's almost like
the debate's nearly over.
You're not allowed an opinion on it because if you favour one over the other,
well, Chan's going, so
yeah,
Chan's going. So there's no need to have that debate anymore, is there, really? Whether you're on one side or the other, there'll be no one to compare because Chan's going.
But it doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't.
I think Henderson's better.
So no, Henderson probably is. Is he good enough? It's a different discussion. But he showed more impetus, more zip, bit more incision, a bit of agency. I mean, we talk about there's been a lot. Henderson's an interesting one because I think he tries dead hard to be a leader. What we were saying before about dragging the team forward, I don't think it comes naturally to him. But I think at least he tries to do it. He's at least got some sense of it and some gumption. And could we improve in that area? Possibly, but at least he'd have a go. I think Ings looked like he hadn't played in a while, but that'll come. But it comes back to the Ings thing. He shouldn't be your break glass. Do you know what I mean? Danny Ings shouldn't be your break glass. Same goes for Woodburn. I mean, I give Woodburn a game now, but then the pressure you're putting on him by playing him, I don't think that's fair on him either.
I don't think it's fair on Ings. I don't think it's fair on Woodburn.
You're talking about 2 players there who should be coming on when we're 2 and 3-0 up and for half an hour and getting the minutes in and getting the confidence.
Yeah.
But look, had the game gone on for 5 minutes longer, or rather, had the game played, had the referee added the correct amount of time that he should have done, I think we get that equaliser. I mean, you saw the final whistle. They were dead on the feet. They were absolutely done. They couldn't have took much more. But it still doesn't take away the fact that
do you think we helped ourselves even in those states? Even in those states? Because what was frustration for me was the amount of crosses that were just sort of thrown in, crosses from the sort of wrong position as well. I thought some of the set pieces were really odd, particularly where Milner plays it to Moreno. Yeah, like I didn't see how that benefited us in any way. There seemed to be little arguments around who was on free kicks as well. Was it Salah? Was it Trent?
Well, we lost our free kick
the collective,
I know, and corner taker.
But it doesn't feel like they've quite fixed that or worked out who's doing it now. And we've missed another pen.
Oxlade-Chamberlain's been decent on them, to be fair, but it's that deep crossing. You're exactly right. It's that collective groan, because you've sat on the cop. I sit on the cop. That collective groan when we start booming it in from about 40 yards away from the byline.
And if you're a big centre-half, that's meat and drink, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've got 30 yards to see the ball. It's not like a quick, incisive cross across the front of the goal where you haven't got time to react. You're talking about a big booming cross where you can see it coming in from 30, 40 yards against a compact defence. So they've got something to hold. They're defending their area. It's not even as if they're on the attack and need something and are leaving gaps. And it just seems like the most lazy thing in the world to do. I mean, really lazy, and it smacks of a team that's run out of ideas. All right, we upped the tempo a little bit, but how did we score? Not from a big booming cross. How did Salah get his goal?
Bounced off Firmino too.
But it was a low cross.
Yeah.
It was a low cross from more or less in line with the edge of the 18-yard box. And you get little bits and bats, and you get the bits off it, and we end up scoring. You're not getting that from booming it in from 40. Exactly right.
And the mad thing is that when Liverpool are at the best, and again going back to the City games, Liverpool really play intelligent football, and they make the right choices, and they don't whack balls over, because that's not the way we play. And yet suddenly they can just regress into this almost agricultural style of play that's completely out of keeping.
Because no one wants to take responsibility.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It is, and then that comes down to lack of confidence, and you think, well, where's the confidence gone? After 18 games, it just vanished overnight. And easy choices, and as opposed to brave choices. I mean, people talk about bravery in football these days, and there's no bravery in terms of the tackling these days. You can't get away. You can get away with nothing really, but there's still a different kind of bravery, and that's about not whacking a lazy long cross towards the back post. It's about
who though as well, though, Mike. Who are we crossing to? Who are we crossing to?
Well, I don't know. I think we sold Carroll, didn't we?
No, honestly, serious point for a sec.
Yeah.
Who were we crossing to? Because it wasn't until the last, as was said before by Rob, it went until the last couple of minutes we threw Van Dijk up. So who's winning Who's winning there against when West Brom have got about 6 players in the box, all about 6'3"?
Yeah.
And we're crossing it. Who are we crossing to?
Yeah, it doesn't help.
You know what it is? It's tactical stupidity. That's what it is.
I mean, we did see 2 of our front 3 score great goals. That's worth saying. Obviously now Salah's on 25 goals for the season, which is phenomenal. So good for him, and let's hope that continues to be the case. What we haven't got into, I feel like we've done as much as we can probably do on the actual match itself. There's not loads for me to work with here. I mean, no wonder Neil's jibbed this one. Perhaps he could see into the
Times
future.
these well, don't he?
I know, yeah. He's away in Dublin, if you're wondering. He will have watched it, but he's not on this show to try and get into it. But what we haven't mentioned so far then is the VAR, the thing that everyone ad nauseum has been talking about for it feels like forever. But the difference now is of course we've all now been inside the ground when it's happened. We've all seen what it's like. We can all have an opinion on it now. I mean, I don't know what you thought, fellas, but for me, like it just absolutely sort of killed the momentum, killed the vibe. It felt like no one knew what was going on. Not only us in the stands, but also players on the pitch are appealing for Everton, doing that little telly sign all the time, which is not even a thing. You can't urge the referee to do it. The referee himself, I thought, seemed over nervous at times, that he was checking in almost with the VAR. Almost taken away from his doing his job to an extent, because if he's just out there and not knowing there's someone in his ear and there's someone sitting in Heathrow looking at tellies, he seems to just crack on with his job then. And if he gets it wrong, he gets it wrong. But with this, it's like, I don't know, I wonder how it's affecting him mentally. And we probably never find out because they don't talk to us, do they? But I wasn't sure about that. It took 3 minutes from Salabi, and I mean, it actually benefits Liverpool is the mad thing. I'm moaning about it, but it benefits Liverpool. But being inside the ground, it didn't benefit me as a fan. I thought it was awful to watch. But yeah, 3 minutes from Salabi being fouled until Firmino scores. The scoreboard was going absolutely wild. To whoever was doing that, didn't have a clue what was going on. 1 minute it said 3-1, next minute it said 2-2, and then it was back to 2-1. And it almost, the other thing I worry about is it almost sort of killing the joy a little bit, in that, you score a goal and then all of a sudden you're looking at the referee and looking where his hand is. Is it on his ear? Has he gone to watch that telly on the halfway line? Is it all right, this goal? And I don't know. I mean, what do you make of it, Mike?
I mean, you've summed much of it up really well there. I mean, just on the sort of killing the celebrations. I mean, I suppose. I mean, I agree with you there. West Brom score. All of a sudden, it's challenged. Is it a goal? Is it? Then you have to wait God knows how long to find out, and then the celebration of the goal being awarded ultimately is muted, isn't it? It's like a try in rugby union, the 10 a penny, and I suppose like if you're playing devil's advocate to that argument, you could say that they got your chance to celebrate.
Them right.
Well, yeah. What I was going to say was that basically the West Brom fans got the chance to celebrate the same goal twice.
Yeah.
So there's that. But just like the joy was sort of split in half. Another point. I mean, I've got a stance on use of video on making decisions because I'm a big cricket fan and I watched the way that it's been utilised in cricket, probably for the better. Actually, it's made it a better game. But cricket's got natural breaks at the end of every ball. You know, there's 2 minutes basically before the next delivery. The game is perfect for it.
Rugby's the same,
and it actually adds to the tension. It adds to the experience in the ground. It added nothing to us because it's confusion is the word for me. When you're in the ground, you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden, has it been disallowed? As you say, looking at the scoreboard, it's going back from 3 to 2. You know, I wouldn't want to be in charge of that job because I didn't know what the bloody score was.
No.
And
I mean, look, it is a trial and all that, and we get that, and, you know, there's bound to be teething problems, get that. But it just feels like something to me, and that, you know, I've watched the game at the ground, and I've watched the game last night on the telly as well. And if you're watching it on the telly, it's a totally different experience because, you know, the television company has basically got the access to the same stuff that the video refs got. So while we're all waiting around in the ground for 3 minutes for them to decide what they're doing, on the telly, you're watching the replay and the commentators are saying, well, that looks a penalty and you can see why that one's being pulled. And it makes sense to the TV viewer, but it doesn't make sense when you're in the ground.
But even then, I don't think it makes sense to the TV viewer. So what I mean by that is, let's go back to the Salah decision. And this is my thing with VAR. You've wasted 3 minutes of the game, which has totally killed the atmosphere inside the ground. And I went back and watched this last night. The Salah decision, it's interpretive. I don't see. It's not binary.
Yeah, how much has he flourished and all that?
Yeah, is it definitely 100% a penalty? Well, I don't know. Is it? Even with the benefit of hindsight, you're still going on an interpretation of an event.
Absolutely. I mean, and
that's took 3 minutes of the game.
To a degree, that's the same with the cricket as well. There's still a decision for the television umpire to make once he's seen the video. So it's the same concept, but. No, but cricket's different, isn't it? Because
I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm all for technology. So I think the goal line thing, fine. It's binary. Yes, no, black, white. Yeah. Whatever.
But when
is it a corner?
When there's interpretation, you're right.
Yeah. Is it a corner? Yes, no. Is it a throw in? Yes, no. Fine, great, all for it. I'll sign up.
Me too.
It just seems for the marginal benefit again, which is still interpretive, is nowhere near where the cost of what it actually does to the game. Over 3 minutes. I mean, I've actually wrote in my notes there. It feels dead rugby union, and then you said it. But look at the actual impact on the players. Pardew after the game. They've got away with the result. Well, deservedly, they deservedly got the result. But he was saying 2 of their injuries, their hamstring injuries, were down to the break in the game. Because the players keep moving. It's a constant flip.
Well, and there's a Liverpool point to be made there. If Liverpool at the best, they're all about tempo and rhythm. We don't we don't game stop them for 4 minutes. It'll count against us.
Look at that. Look at that patch of play against Manchester City.
Yeah.
Look at that patch of play against Manchester City when we scored them goals there.
Yeah, the 3 goals in 7 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
10 minutes.
Imagine there's a 2 minute break or a 3 minute break in the middle.
You don't get that at all, do you?
No, I mean, absolutely
and the other if this comes in wholesale into the league, the other thing to consider really is the players that you sign and the ones who are good at reviews and know ultimately I've got a sense for whether a goal's offside. And some players are better at that than others. So it almost completely changes the face of your recruitment policy because you're looking for people who are savvy with the use of technology and when to review, how to coerce referees into reviewing things. And just as on a lighter note, I mean, I suggest that we sign Joe Root and Mo and Ali because they're brilliant at it. They're absolutely spot on. Whenever they they go for a review, they generally speaking get it right. So, and England do well out of it. And furthermore, Mo and Ali's a Liverpool fan. He'd be perfect for us. I'd play him in midfield.
But also, isn't the idea as well that it's like striving for some kind of refereeing perfection that you're probably never going to achieve anyway? Because while there seems to be lots of back pattern about it, oh well, you know that was you got all the major decisions right because he used the VAR. At the same time, though, there's a pretty nasty challenge on Firmino that doesn't get picked up, which when you watch back, you think, well, did no one want to pull that one? And then there's the issue still, which wouldn't go to a VAR to get that, but the referee there, I reckon I counted 7 times said to Ben Foster, hurry up,
Doesn't have
he was taking an absolute age to do everything, which they do, and which he's got every right to do, and which if the boot was on the other foot and it was Liverpool defending a lead, and our keeper was messing around, taking time, you go, well, that's dark art and that's sound. But he never ever books them. Is it really, as you say, is it added on? And so there isn't a perfect referee performance basically ever. Well, because it still involves humans.
Yeah. But on that goalkeeper thing specifically, what they do if they ever get booked, they never ever book them up until about 80 minutes.
Yeah.
When it's quite clear from the get-go
that they're at it from the start.
They're going to be at it from the start.
And if you book them, they're not going to carry on doing it.
Well, no, exactly. So get your card out early.
It's the extent to which it then begins to be used. And I said this years ago, when the first idea of using video technology in football games was first mooted, is that every time the ball's played forward by a team, there's a decision to be made there. Is it offside? Every time the ball is kicked forward, is it offside? Right? Now, how far do you want to take it? I mean, that's the extreme example, isn't it? You ultimately...
But you're allowing that scenario.
That potentially... And it's really what you've got here is it's the thin end of the wedge. And... As I say, there's decisions. A referee makes a decision, positively or negatively, either to award a foul or not award a foul, about every 3-4 seconds, every time there's a challenge. Now, to what extent, how far are you going to go with this? And when are you going to use it? I mean, is there a side to have a number of reviews that are allowed? Is that...
No. See, what they haven't entertained is bringing... And it's been suggested that you get, like in cricket, you get 2 challenges.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's purely the referee.
Yeah. Well,
he'll have someone in his ear going, and so if the referee's made a bad decision, whoever's watching it 200 miles away can go, no, I'm having a look at that.
Okay.
So in theory, say Salah's penalty decision isn't given, the ball stays in play. West Brom could go up the other end of the pitch, score a legitimate goal,
and then it gets pulled back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's madness in itself. But in cricket, I mean, it's not a perfect comparison because it's a different sport. But it's the same in tennis as well. That each side or each player has got a number of reviews that they can use. And if you review something and you get it right, and ultimately you prove to be right, then the decision is corrected in your favour, and you don't lose your review. So ultimately, it's about being skilled, and it becomes part of the game, and
tactical.
Another skillful part of the game. So you don't review stuff that's just mad. You review when you genuinely think you've been badly done to.
We saw, didn't we, how it's still reliant on subjectivity, because while some of the decisions that go to the video ref he just accepts. For the penalty, he runs to the halfway line, goes down the tunnel, and watches it on the telly. So that said to me, there was still some doubt then. And then he was being, well, ultimately, the ultimate decision is with the match referee, not the fella in Heathrow.
Why is he in London? That's the other thing.
I've no idea.
The reason behind that is that they don't want them to be coerced, so he watches it with no sound on either.
Yeah.
So basically, what they're saying is the intimation is that a referee can be swayed by a home crowd. So they picked this neutral...
How ironic is that?
I know.
Isn't that what the game's all about?
So they're putting him in like a soundproof room where he can be totally subjective, which is mad, because he's being totally subjective about something which is absolutely objective.
Totally, yeah. And
how does that make sense?
Well, here's a recommendation. Why don't we stretch that a bit further and only employ deaf referees?
Fucking hell. Okay. Let's leave VAR there. Then I think you've heard the opinions.
Or at least ones with earplugs.
No doubt we will be talking about it again.
Can I just ask you one question?
There's one more thing about this though, is that what you have all said or touched on there is that it requires more development. And what I worry about is already the people saying, miking the referee up, including me. I wrote that on Saturday night. Screens in the ground and all this, and like, if that's where we go with it, then it's just to me another step towards the top level of football almost being a completely different sport to what you see further down the pyramid, and I think that's a little bit sad.
And the other thing as well is that if the authorities, FIFA, UEFA, the Premier League, are right behind this and they believe that it ultimately results in more fairness for all its issues, then they've jumped the gun too soon. Because what you need for it to be operating successfully are parameters to use, like the review system, the technology that, like the microphones referee and the screens, so that the people in the stadium can participate and get something out of it. But so they've put this in way before any real logical thought as to how it would best work. So they've jumped the gun, and now they've created a situation where probably most supporters are fairly negative about it. And there was bad publicity about it in the last round. We weren't involved in anyway, but there were other games that were
Chelsea,
was it? Yeah. So they're creating bad publicity. They're turning people off the idea before they've actually explored it with the right backing behind.
Well, the goal line thing works, doesn't it? Because you said before, it's just black and white.
In or out, and
it's
it's instantaneous as well. There's no big weight.
That's right. The ref gets a buzz on his watch, doesn't he?
That's what I mean. So that's
all right.
So that's been thought out because they thought about that for a long, long time. Yeah. And when they did finally put it in place, everyone was like, "Yeah, I can see the benefit, can see how it works. It's sound." Whereas this, they're messing around with it, and as you say, it doesn't feel like it's been developed enough. It just throw it in, see what happens, and that's all well and good. But when you're paying, £56 or whatever to get inside the ground and watch that, and it ends up spoiling your enjoyment and spoiling what you're used to, then I personally don't think that's on.
But where does it end up? I mean, does not feel. Maybe I'm just being uber cynical with the way the game's gone, but does not feel a bit sky. So hear me out a minute. So the next thing, say this gets brought in. Who's to say, like in the cricket and other sports, they go to an ad break while VAR's being assessed? More advertising opportunities, breaks in the game.
They're already talking about sponsoring the VAR.
Exactly. It just feels like another benefit to the viewer at home at the cost of the match going fan. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally right, Andy. And, let's face it, you want to draw an analogy there. Where's most of the money coming into football from now? It's TV, isn't it? The money that we pay, as much as it is as a hit to our own wallets or money stuffed in down jeans pockets like Carragher would have his. It's a big hit on us, right? But the amount of money that we provide as a proportion of the game's wealth is now minimal. I think, unfortunately, that's the way it's going. Decisions are going to be made for TV viewers, not.
Maybe I'm looking at it too far, but I can just see a world in which that's what someone's sponsoring.
Yeah, and if I'm at home watching a match, and if I think VAR is enhancing my TV experience, I get that because I watch a lot of football on television. I watch more football on TV because I watch 4 matches a week, whereas I probably watch Liverpool once a week. So a quarter of the time I'm in the ground. But it's about the authorities thinking about what's important, who's important, and at the moment, I think you could make a very strong case to say that they're more bothered about the TV viewer because that's where the brass is.
There's almost a Black Mirror episode in this where the viewers at home vote for the decision.
Yeah.
Well, it's Huddersfield tomorrow night anyway. Let's have a little chat about that. Don't need to go into great detail because for subscribers, we will of course be doing the team talk show where we look at both managers' press conferences, speak to a Huddersfield fan, everything else, do a proper preview of it. But just briefly, I mean, what are you expecting in terms of a lineup and what you want to see in terms of performance?
As far as the lineup's concerned, I mean, it's pretty much picks itself because I don't think there's that many options.
Henderson back in midfield.
Henderson back in midfield, I would say, yeah. I wouldn't have Matip anywhere near the side. I'd have Robertson back in. I'd have Joe Gomez back in. Front three picks itself. They're the only three we've got of any real quality. And then in midfield, yeah, maybe bring Henderson back in and. One of the probably Wijnaldum will miss out because he goes missing away from home too much. In terms of performance, just it's basically the opposite of what I've seen in the last 2 games, which is a bit of flair, a bit of creativity, a bit of self-confidence. I fully expect Liverpool to win tomorrow night because we're playing Klopp's mate, aren't we? And also Huddersfield are crap. And if I know we lost to Swansea, but these are the games we've got to be winning. We're in a race for 4th now. We had a little bit of a cushion before Swansea, but that's gone now. And I think it's going to be tight towards the end of the season. So these
Spurs on Sunday as well.
Yeah, well, going into that's going to be massive. I mean, if Liverpool, let's say for argument's sake, Liverpool draw tomorrow night, you go into that Spurs game pretty much level with Spurs. If Spurs come to Anfield and then win, then they're ahead of us in that race, and we're probably 5th. And that's the nightmare scenario, isn't it? When everyone wants to wait, everyone's happy who's waiting for signings. Come the summer, if Liverpool have finished 5th, you can wait all you want because no one will be coming.
Yeah, if we're clutching at straws as well, it's good that Spurs have got another game. They've got to play a replay against Newport. I always knew that goal was coming, by the way. I was watching that one.
What a game that was, by the way.
Yeah, it was cracker, wasn't it? Anything to add to what Mike said about Huddersfield?
Yeah, I wonder whether Klopp will do his usual thing, and he's got this mad this mad thing where he won't drop a player immediately after a poor game. He'll wait for another game and then drop him almost to not go to the bay and mob. So I could actually see him going to Huddersfield with obviously change the goalkeeper and maybe Anderson, but keep more or less the same side. Give the lads who let him down and let us down against West Brom a chance to go right here. Go and put that right. Maybe Robertson back in for Moreno though, but generally the same side. And yeah, I've got every confidence we'll beat Huddersfield. Oh, by the way, if anyone's got anyone lives near the ground where I could lash my laptop during the game, so I can actually go in, hit me up on Twitter and that. But yeah, and then Spurs at the weekend at Anfield. I think it'll be a cracker. I think I fancy us. I fancy us. I think
it would. It's the type of game that we excel in. And
big occasion.
If you remember back to last season, Pochettino played massively into our hands. Then he played with a massive high line.
Yeah,
it'd be really interesting to see how they set up tactically next week.
It feels like one as well. That's almost good for the manager and the way he is as well. And you can picture to the players as let's go out there and get some revenge for what happened at Wembley and that sort of stuff as well. So you got that.
It's a massive week, isn't it? It's a massive week.
It's a massive week as well because the transfer window closes. I mean, just briefly on that as well. Again, to emphasise that we have got a gutter show on the subscriber feed on Tour Player, £5 a month to have a go with that. The gutter show is everything about transfers, possible transfers, rumours. That is why it's called the gutter. Rob Gutman's crawling around in it and he's telling you the latest rumours and assessing them and deciding whether they're going to happen. I mean, either of you expect anything? It's looking pretty like they're not going to do anything.
No, we've just done the gutter before this. Actually, it'll be out. I think this will just be coming out after it. So you've already heard me saying, no, I don't think that anything's going to happen here. No,
well, I mean, I've been busy over the weekend, very busy with my new job, and so I've not been following it. Only in the expectancy that probably nothing would happen. And I came in and saw Rob disappearing out the room after he'd done the gutter. I said, "Any transfer news, Rob? Open for good news." And he went, "Sturridge going to Newcastle on loan, apparently." I went, "Right. Any incomings?" "Nah, mate." Okay, and that's the gutter man.
That's all, folks.
That's the guy who loves the transfers.
Big sell for it from Mike there.
It's a good show. It was a good show, to be fair.
Well, before we go as well, just a shout for something that the rest of the Anfield Wrap team has been working really hard on. A series of audio documentaries about significant days in the club's history. As I say, really proud of this one. We think it's a great listen. And the first TAW Moment in Time will be out on Thursday. And a little taster is going to follow in a second, so have a listen to that. But this has been the Anfield Wrap in association with Redsbet. Thanks to Andy Heaton, thanks to Mike Nevin. Let's hope we can talk about a Liverpool victory soon.
Things weren't right at Anfield, and particularly for Kenny Dalglish. The following day, Dalglish informed the club executives of his desire to leave Liverpool. Dalglish was asked to reconsider to have a break, but he was insistent on his decision. The first people to find out about Kenny's resignation was family. Sky Sports and BBC 5 Live presenter Kelly Cates was then Kelly Dalglish, a 16-year-old living with her parents in Southport.
I remember coming back from school and I'd gone over to my friend's house who lived across the road and I got called back and my mum had said, "Oh, come back." And I genuinely thought I was in trouble because the tone of her voice and being called back early from my mates, it was really weird. And I went into the house and Mum said, "I need to tell you Dad's leaving Liverpool." And I remember being just so confused. I was like, what do you mean leaving? I don't, because it's all I'd known since I was 2. So I didn't have any memory of a time when it wasn't part of life. And she said, "Yeah, he's leaving, as in he's handing in his resignation and he's not going back and they're going to announce it tomorrow." And it was just a really strange, experience. I mean, it's probably overstating it to say it felt like a death, but it did feel like an ending. And they're the sort of, it's those similar feelings. I mean, not as extreme as that, but definitely along those lines. That's kind of how it felt. And then later that night, he came back and he brought a box full of stuff from his office. And I remember just sobbing, just thinking, it was the weirdest, strangest thing in the world. It just didn't feel real because it had kind of been as much a part of our lives as any of the people in it, really. It was always there. So the fact that it was all changing was really unsettling. And really sad.